What's up? The great thing about that is that it was never cool. Then it became ironic. Then it became not cool again. And now I think we are at the point where it has become ironic again. What's up? Love that. What's up? It sounds a lot like WhatsApp. Surprised they haven't cottoned on to a cross-promotional thing there. I have had this sat in a box for about a month before deciding if it was worth doing a video about. This is one of them famous comic gator books. It's all a grift, innit? I love this though. He has done written on the box. Love stuff like this. I love the DIY aesthetic. Emphasis on the yourself part of do it yourself, because you cannot fucking rely on anyone else, and that is why I am basically a hermit these days. But also, he even put his name on the box. What a showboat and ape-monger. Shaking it about a bit, it sounds like there's some form of small objects inside. And I hope that it is Pogs. Remember Pogs? Let's open this definite con job now. This is not Daredevil versus the KKK. It is by a communist prevert called Markov. And he might want you to think that he is in Leningrad, but he's actually from Birmingham and he needs a haircut. It came with these little art prints and a sticker. I think this is what I heard rattling about. I wanted Pogs. Remember Alf? I wanted Alf Pogs. We'll just have a quick little look at all these right now. Ordinarily, I didn't get the Comic Gator books because I didn't support hate groups. But also mainly, I didn't really care about stories about original IPs and frogs. I like me Marvel and I like me DC, and that is me. This one I got though because I love the KKK. I love the KKK almost as much as I love saying that I love the KKK deliberately in order for it to be taken out of context. I actually think the KKK are horrible, but I also find them incredibly funny. I didn't think any of the racism is funny. I didn't think any of the ethnic cleansing is funny. But I find grown men dressing up as ghosts terrifically funny. Like, here is a group with some outrageous, stupid beliefs and goals, and they think the best way to be taken seriously is dressing up as ghosts. I think the KKK are the perfect target for mocking, and that's partly why I got this. This also stars Daredevil, a public domain character I always liked the look of. He has done taken an ad public domain character and an ad public domain comic, and he has swapped out all the words to make it amusing. Your mileage on if it is funny will vary, but I'd say the basic idea here, the premise of taking this ad comic and changing the writing, I think that is another strong component in why I did commit to getting this. And I will admit, this is the sort of idea I would do. But again, if it would be any funny is debatable. I probably will not review this because comedy is something I won't review because it is subjective, but also I would be incredibly nitpicky since comedy is something I have a background in, so I am very hard to impress. So instead, let's talk about the production quality here. The pages are nice and thick. We have parody adverts mixed in, like Summit from the Viz. That is a reference lost on anyone in America, but I just want to say that I know the people who made the Viz. I didn't really know how to articulate this, but I love how it has the newsprint style, even though it's not on newsprint. It's obviously because the original comic was scanned and it was on newsprint. But seeing that printed on nice paper like this, but still with that look, I love it. It's great. There are in-jokes that I didn't get, but I'm not one to complain. My entire channel is made up of in-jokes that nobody gets. And here is a quote on the back that upsets me a bit because I have striven my entire life to be described as the Andy Kaufman of Summit. Like, seriously, my entire stand-up set was just a pretty lazy extrapolation of Andy Kaufman. Let's cut the 10-minute long sequence where I talk about Andy Kaufman. Like, genuinely, I cried once because there was actually a review of one of me gigs and fucking hated me, didn't get it at all. But they gave a positive review to an insane 56-year-old man who raped a woman at knife point and couldn't tell a joke to save his life, and they described him as being Kaufman-esque. Years and years ago, I think it was Joe Rogan, he did a gig in Leeds and he asked around for the worst act on the circuit because he wanted them to open for him, and he got pointed towards that guy, and he was so bad that Joe Rogan will not gig in Leeds ever again. This is the only comic I have gotten that fits into the umbrella of comic gates. The only other one I was going to get was Red Rooster, but after 5 months of politely asking for a refund and not getting one, I called Millhouse Brettelweisers a fuckwit, and then I got the refund straight away. It is pretty commendable that all these people are making comics, and there are some really great artists involved, but do I have to talk about comic gates here? I didn't really want to. I'm not sure if I really care enough to discuss it, but I feel I have to since this is a comic gates book. If you didn't know what comic gates is, search the internet and you will find a bunch of it pieces with no or insufficient evidence and a heavily moderated Wikipedia article that removes any non-biased edit. Or better yet, didn't. It's not worth falling down that rabbit hole. You might think there is some valid criticism there, and then you will find that it is completely discounted by Diversity in a Comic Book making 3 consecutive videos about flushing a comic down the toilet because he thinks Marvel have been taken over by the Taliban. My channel was always intended as a bit of a riff on that, on how useless accurate criticism can be if it is voiced by a stupid person. Also, there was a What Culture video about the 10 lamest Avengers members where they pronounced every name wrong. In conclusion, this is probably more entertaining than Gail Simon's miniseries starring this character, but this is unlikely to have a glasses-wearing dog hacking the internet like the comics I normally review. So for that, I will have to stamp it with a 7 thumbs up.